Thank you, Presiding Officer. Labour welcomes the opportunity this afternoon to highlight not only the importance of the life sciences sector in Scotland, but the importance of research funding and of developing our existing expertise too. Scotland does have an outstanding reputation when it comes to life sciences. Our universities are amongst the best in the world, and and our colleagues across the UK have a long, proud history of research, innovation and discovery. On this side of the chamber, we've done our bit to help the good work of our scientists. It was Labour that introduced a science strategy for Scotland in 2001, which recognised the need to ensure an adequate supply of students from the education system with science qualifications and training to meet the needs of an increasingly knowledge-based economy. It's fair to say that much of what this current Scottish Government have done since 2007 has been a continuation of this approach. The Government's motion today highlights the publication of the Skills Investment Plan for Scotland's life sciences sector by Skills Development Scotland. I welcome this publication, and as the Minister outlined, the plan's aim is for Scotland's life sciences sector to double its economic contribution by 2020. This is particularly welcome because the previous Government strategy document required an updated action plan. This, of course, is an extremely ambitious target and one we support, but the real challenge is how we turn that aim into reality. Meeting the skills needs of the sector is vital, and there are a number of things we can do, and the Minister mentioned a number of them. We can look at good practice, for example, in areas like Renfrewshire, where the science and technology sector there and Renfrewshire Council are working in partnership to raise awareness of the sector and provide work experience for local students. We should look to build on the sterling work done by further education and higher education. Again, in my own region, West College Scotland and the University of West of Scotland are educating skilled technical staff and graduates who will find work and bring forward innovation in the sector. But fundamentally, we need the Scottish Government to be providing an education system that meets the needs of the Scottish economy. And the statistics last week on numeracy should be a major wake-up call for the Scottish Government. Standards in numeracy falling amongst primary school pupils and no improvement in numeracy standards in secondary. How can we properly meet the needs of the science sector when numeracy standards are falling under this Government? I'm happy to take an intervention.
I thank the member for taking an intervention. The member acknowledged that the Curriculum for Excellence actually looks at the talents of each individual pupil, and that is the vehicle and the pathway to excel our students of the future.
I think the way our students will excel is if we have an education system that is meeting the needs of pupils in the country as a whole, and I don't think an education system where numeracy standards are failing is that education system, and this is a major area of concern and it needs urgent action from the Scottish Government, and I hope the Minister will respond on the issue of numeracy later on in the debate. But, Presiding Officer, this afternoon it is also important to discuss and recognise the important contribution UK Research Council funding makes to our universities, the role that helps maintain our reputation as a leader in the life sciences field. Because in addition to having a skilled workforce, key to our scientific standing in the world is the research funding our universities receive. For the record, I am glad to see that the Scottish Government acknowledged the contribution that UK research funding makes to Scottish universities. I am pleased to see the SNP Government state in its recent paper the clear benefits to Scotland and the rest of the UK from maintaining shared research councils. And no wonder, the facts speak for themselves. In 2012-2013, Scottish higher education institutions secured £257 million, that's £250 million, of UK Research Council grants. This represents 13.1% of the UK total, significantly more than our 8% of UK gross domestic product or 8.4% of the UK population. I'm happy to give way if one of the SNP members wants to tell me, if independence is so good, why are you not preparing to set up an entirely independent research council?
Well, the first question that I was going to ask is, the member will, I am sure, acknowledge that the spending that the UK Government makes, whether it's through the research councils at UK level or elsewhere, isn't an act of charity. It does come from taxation, and that where Scotland does better than its population share, as the member mentioned, does the member not also acknowledge that that is because of Scottish excellence in research projects, and that the research projects are awarded on the basis of excellence, not on a political or charitable basis?
Scottish universities are excellent, so are UK universities, Minister. Harvard and Yale are excellent universities, but they aren't in the United Kingdom. There's great universities, excellent universities in Europe and throughout Asia. They aren't in the United Kingdom either. How much money does the UK Research Council give to those universities? If you want to maintain UK Research Council funding, we should stay in the United Kingdom. But of course, the SNP, by their obsession with independence, are putting university research funding at severe risk. As Professor Paul Boyle from Research Councils UK has said, we give all our funding to institutions that have been accredited to receive RC UK funding, which means they are UK-based institutions. And it's not only research councils that provide UK government funding for research. For example, UK government departments such as the Ministry of Defence and Department of Health have significant R&D programmes. In addition to public funding, the UK's network of charitable organisations fund significant amounts of research. These organisations invest approximately £1.1 billion per annum, 13% of which was spent on research in Scotland. In 2012-13, Cancer Research UK spent £34 million in Scotland, including at the University of Stirling, which is home to Cancer Research UK's Centre for Tobacco Control Research. Sharmila Nebjani, Chief Executive of the Association of Medical Research Charities, has expressed her worry. She has said it may be that going forward, people would then think twice about setting up an institute in what became an independent country. And if that's not alarming enough, the Wellcome Trust, a leading charitable organisation which has invested over £600 million in Scottish health research over the last decade on the implications of independence, has said a future commitment and the eligibility of Scottish institutions for trust support would need to be reviewed. There is no guarantee that our funding would be maintained at current levels. That's the Wellcome Trust, the UK organisation which has a requirement for match funding on institutions in Ireland, but no such requirement on institutions in the United Kingdom. Presiding Officer, in Scotland and throughout the UK we have a brilliant system of research. If independence was so good, the SNP would be proposing an entirely independent system. They are not. There are no guarantees if we left the UK that we would keep UK research funding, and there are no precedents. It is naive in the extreme to vote to leave the UK when you want to keep the benefits of being part of the UK. If we want to keep the benefits of being part of the UK, it is therefore obviously common sense to be in the UK. Presiding Officer, essential to building the life sciences sector in Scotland and throughout the UK is developing the excellence and expertise we already have, not only in our universities, but in our companies as well. One such company, of course, is AstraZeneca, who have their global headquarters here in the UK and who are currently the subject of a £63 billion takeover by American company Pfizer, subject to our amendment today. And I noticed the Minister didn't even reference that in his 10-minute speech. Members will be aware that the Labour Party is calling for a thorough assessment and for public interest tests to be applied to this type of takeover. Not only because the proposed takeover is worth an estimated £63 billion, because we cannot underestimate how important AstraZeneca's research and development is to the UK. As well as being home to its global headquarters, the UK is also home to AstraZeneca's global research and development facility, and they invest over £1 billion in research and development within UK operations. They contribute around £3.8 billion gross value added annually to the UK economy and make up around 2.3% of total UK exports of goods, a total of almost £7 billion. At both a local and national level, they work closely with the NHS, including the NHS Grampian. They made a recent grant of £20,000 to the University of the West of Scotland. We believe there should be a public interest test on such takeovers. Many other Western economies have such tests, and the UK should too. I hope other parties across the Chamber will support Labour's call. It's all very well for us to talk about how important life sciences are, but we cannot ignore the potential impact that such a major takeover will have, and I move the Labour amendment in my name.
Many thanks.